Alright, we are recording. So continuing in Mad Max, key was originally provided by WB Games back when this came out, which, was that 2015? I think it was 2015. If I'm wrong, it was 26. I'm thinking I'm wrong, and it's 20. I'll check once this finishes loading, which it looks like will be soon. Because I don't want to be wrong on this. It's just always awkward when you're wrong on something like this. No, 2015. It was in fact 2015. Okay. And before getting too far into this, is one thing that I didn't make a note of it, but it just occurred to me that, it's worth mentioning. There's a feature of OBS Studio that I love. It's great. I've been using it for years. It's wonderful. And the other day I saw something from this YouTuber Epos Fox that he describes himself as a stream professor, which, I mean, I don't look at enough of his stuff to argue one way or the other on that point. But the video I saw was just him basically going through strategies he's come up with for managing all of his stuff in OBS. Which, looking at that, he needs it. I mean, he uses it a lot more than I do. Like, he does all that switching stuff. I basically just record. But it's still one thing that he did not touch on. It's like, I could just believe that nobody really realizes this is a thing. But it is, that I don't remember where I'd initially seen the documentation on it. But it's so useful. You can set launch flags in the shortcut. And I actually left this comment on his video. Because with this, you can tell it what scene collection, what scene, and what profile it should launch with. So it's like, I have not needed to change a profile or change a scene collection for years. Because I just have one that's set up for streaming, one that's set up for like recording when I'm doing a review, one that's set up to load up the other version of that same profile with screenshot enabled, like if I'm doing an Epic Game Store game, because it doesn't have a built-in screenshot mechanism like Steam does. I have what I need for the body and games videos I do. And I've got some others on top of that I haven't used for a while, I'm going to probably get rid of. But it's like, it is so nice. Because I mean, he even mentioned in there about how, if you forget to change your profile, you're not streaming to Twitch, you're streaming to YouTube. And that's kind of a problem. At least, if you are trying to, stream to one or the other. But it's like, if you have that shortcut where it just launches and immediately takes you to all that setup, including the profile that you need, so it streams to the right place, and you just have a clear name on that shortcut, just have it on your desktop, have it in a folder, whatever, you do that, you're good. It's great. And just, yeah, seriously, look that stuff up. It is such a useful tip. Such a useful thing. And as I said, I wish I could remember where I initially discovered this. Yeah. I'm going to skip that for now. Getting the minefield. Although that's true. I was like, we do have the two minefields right here. Nah, I'll just fast travel straight to here. Start doing stuff. Okay, so what all have I got in now? Actually I have 5 things. Yeah, let's do that one first. So, wait, how did it look like? Oh, that's what it. I had a new line for one of them, and it's like I couldn't I didn't look at it closely enough to realize what I was even writing. So Silicon Lottery, and I actually put this in the Friday news item because it is interesting. In not necessarily a positive way. I guess it depends on how I look at it. So Silicon Lottery is not just a term that is used to describe how, there's just a chance for your silicon to be great and a chance for it to be crap. Referring to your CPU or GPU. There's a chance that it will overclock like a dream or undervolt like a dream, and a chance that it won't, that it'll manage stock, and that's about all you can ever expect to get out of it. And by the way, I do feel like pointing out that it is, you can have a, a chip that doesn't overclock well, but will undervolt well. Pretty sure that I have seen such stories of that. Nope, don't see anything there. You know what? Since we're right here, let's go do that. But Silicon Lottery is also a storefront, and I want to... Oh, no, that's just a random pack. Yeah, it's also a storefront that their business was twofold. One was to pre-bin CPUs. So you wanted, say, a 7700K that would overclock to 5 gigahertz. I think that one was able to reach 5 gigahertz. Anyway, let's say you wanted that, and you didn't want to, just, put it to chance. You wanted to you got the thing, and that's what it was. You could go to Silicon Lottery. You could, because they bought them on bulk enough that they would then do that binning. They would, overclock a whole bunch of them, see how they end up working out, and then they would sell them in their bins. What's the point of being to come up here? So you could buy that specific one. Obviously, you would be paying more, but you would, when you actually just looking at it, you could, seriously, what's the point of this lab? Huh. Anyway, and I remember looking at what they had years ago now. Because, it's just interesting to see what all their system was. But it would say in what the settings were, what the configurations were, what the voltage was that they would need, all that on there. Now, another part of their service, though, besides just the binning, is they would delid it for you, which for some of the Intel CPUs were definitely necessary. But unfortunately, because both AMD and Intel have gotten so much better at binning their own processors, and also better at the boost technologies, the whole value of the Silicon Lottery niche has decreased to the point that they are shutting down. But yeah, the whole how some people, and I disagree with this, but how some people say that overclocking is dead or that it's dying, because you have very effective mechanisms such as precision boost overdrive. Intel doesn't really have a competitor to PBO though, but that's, well, no, they don't. No, they don't. But because of that, the chips will basically come and have very little headroom, overclocking headroom to them as is. So what's the point in buying something that's pre-overclocked? It's like you can probably just buy the thing yourself and it'll do it for you. And if you do spend the time to tweak it yourself, you're not necessarily going to get a whole lot out of it. But as I said, that's the theory, and I personally do believe that there is something that is ignored with that is forgotten with that is still important. That is undervolt. Because Intel or AMD, at least I'm pretty sure with Intel, I know with AMD, if you undervolt it, you're going to open up more room, even without touching any of the precision boost overdrive in AMD. You apply that offset, you're now opening up more room for power and heat that it can build up while boosting itself. So there is still an advantage there. There is still room to tweak, but you do have to do it differently. And then also with AMD on the newer stuff, you've got that, core, you can tweak by core. I think it's by core. I know by CCD, but I think it is actually, oh wait, no, CCX, sorry. But I think it is also, or at least in the naming, it's got something to do with the core.
Royal mess you are!
You know what? I'm gonna take care of this guy. But it still is. Their business was based on overclocking, not on undervolting, not on like trying to get better efficiency. Because also that's not going to be as easy to sell. I would grant, but is, I think valid. But the other thing is the delitic. So yeah, that was in the like 7700, 8700 era for Intel. That they would just slather it like full of thermal paste inside, which not really good to do. Because thermal paste is the purpose of a thermal interface material is just to facilitate the connection between two different objects. Okay? So, for example, I did put in last week, I said in the previous recording, in last week's recording, that I would be changing out the CPU cooler on my desktop. I actually did that a week ago. Like the day after the recording. And it's, by the way, it's been going very nicely so far. No problems at all, and I have already done some recordings and processing. It might be a little bit warmer than the AIO I had before. Even with the AIO, it only one fan on it, but it still is, it's doing the job very nicely, and the system's actually quieter. I think that's more so because the fans, the one fan would sometimes have to speed up quite a lot, and I could really hear that. 140mm fans, they can move a lot of air, so they don't need to go as fast, but they can go as fast, and that makes them kind of loud. So, yeah. Now that I actually still have one, but I put the one things that came with the Noctua fans I got, the extra ones, were something to slow down. I think it's just a resistor, so it slows down. It lowers the maximum speed for a fan. I just stuck that on the 140mm fan, so it doesn't speed up as much, because it's actually tied to the CPU stuff. It's a little complicated. Just leave it at, the system's quieter, because I don't have a fan getting nearly as loud as it used to. Anyway. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Thermal interface material. So, the NH1, because I decided, what the hell, why not use what came with the Noctua cooler? Its purpose is to just help overcome the fact that there are small grooves and channels and the like in the surface of the Threadripper IHS and in the surface of the cooler's cold plate. Excuse me. So it just fills that in and is a better thermal conductor than air. Okay? The thing is that the more of it that's there, the less good a conductor it is. And this is like just a rule of physics. The thinner a material is, the more easily it will conduct heat. So that also translates to the more of it is, the worse it conducts. So when Intel was slathering their CPU dies in their thermal paste that helps it conduct heat to the IHS, it was actually really causing them to heat up. Now, to be clear, it was fine for stock. At just normal stock speeds and such, it wasn't like the CPUs were going to be harmed by that. But when people were overclocking, it was not good. Like, and I cannot think of any of the names to it, but if you look, I'm pretty sure DeBauer had some videos where he was basically just showing the difference. And now, true, he would typically go to, like, liquid metal. But I think he may have even had one where all he did was just, like, repaste. And it was significant when he was overclocking his CPU. Well, Intel, in part thanks to AMD using solid TIM, STIM, part thanks to that, Intel moved to it as well, so now there's not even a point to delitting. And they actually, Silicon Lottery, also had a service where you could send them the CPU, they would do the process for you. Because it can be kind of scary to, take the IHS, which is not really meant to come off of a CPU, to take that off and do this stuff. But, yeah. Now it's just, not so neat anymore. Now, like I said, though, I do believe that the future of overclocking is fine. Well, because you just need to widen the thought of what it is that you're doing to just general tweaking to maximize performance. So you're not limiting yourself to just, higher clock speeds, but, include, just trying to get it to be more efficient. Trying to game the boost algorithms to take them higher. I mean, there are many options, but it is less prestigious. Being able to say, hey, I hit, 5.3 gigahertz is better than saying, hey, I managed to hit 5 gigahertz, but I'm only pulling, like, 60 watts on a 90-watt CPU or something.
Loss was always with us. But so was hope. Now we only have loss.
And the last one is right there, which I don't know if I... Oh, no, I actually was able to hit it from here. Cool. Yeah, so it is something of an end of an era, but, I mean, not the era of overclocking, just the era of being able to purchase pre-bin overclocking. And one thing that I didn't really touch on, that I do want to touch on here, but I didn't so much touch on it in the write-up. Yeah, that's what I thought. Was that partly it was also the variability. So they specifically use some of the 11,000 series CPUs, and basically instead of having clearly separated products in product stacks, you now have where it's like, oh well, the first generation Ryzen may be a good example. The 1700, 1700X, and 1800X were all the same silicon. They were all 8-core, 16-thread processors. But it was how well were they binned. Where some were binned so well that, it could reliably hit a higher clock speed. Those became the 1800Xs. Those that weren't so good, or... Actually, I think the 1700s were still quite good. It's more that they were more the better efficiency than better speed. So the 1700X would have been not as efficient as the 1700 and not as fast as the 1800X, but it was all same silicon. When basically entire product stacks are like that, though, then there's a lot less, again, less room for post-binning, I guess. So yeah, that's yeah. I mean, it's also worth pointing out this is kind of a good thing overall, because that means you don't need to do as much work. Like you can just, or consumers in general can just make a purchase and know that the product is gonna be performing very well. There we go. Let me see. The next thing I got here. Oh, almost forgot. They did also say, though, Silicon Lottery did say that they may spin it back up if there is, if things change, basically. Which, hey, who knows? Maybe that'll happen. I mean, Alder Lake is going to be a huge change from what we've had before. So maybe that'll do it. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing something out there. And I would think, I could believe that would not so much be, like, they'll still use a solid TIM and such on that, I would imagine, but going to, yeah, this, I can believe that there might be greater variability, again, making post-binning, and I'm saying post-binning because it's like they've already been binned. It's like post-purchase binning. I guess it's a kind of weird thing. But yeah, so maybe that will, because of the added complexity to the chip. Well, yeah, larger chip, full chip. And AMD will, pretty sure it is eventually going to also adopt a multi. No, I shouldn't. It already is multi-chiplet. What am I looking for? Varied chiplet, I guess, be a way to put it. They're eventually going to do, a big little type thing akin to Alder Lake. I mean, yeah. It is definitely going to be interesting what Alder Lake is, because it definitely. Just being able to see how well that design works on desktop, and just what might it open up. But let me see. So the next thing I have on the list is actually some news from One Up Keyboards that I just want to share mainly for one reason, is that currently my second favorite tactile switch, and I love my tactile switch. It's like I'm using the Bo B4s. I'm so happy. I love them so much. Yeah, my favorite. But my second favorite are the purple pandas that One Up has from Texi. They have gotten 3 new switches that I'm recording this on Friday. They're actually up for sale starting today, also from Texi. All 3 are linears though, which it's like, yeah, linear. But I mean, if that's what you want, go for it. I mean, nothing wrong with linears. I just do genuinely prefer tactile. But yeah, the carrot, the ice glacier maybe, and the jade light. I'm going by memory, by the way. The carrot are quite similar to the purple pandas, just linear and with different coloring. The ice glacier is, I think, a slightly lighter spring weight, but it's also clear polycarbonate. So for like an RGB build or just anything that you've got a lot of lights in, it'll do better for the transmission. And I mean, seriously, it will. I remember when I was just putting the Kale box jades, which are just a clear top, not even a clear bottom, but a clear top. On the NK65, it was much brighter than, I think it was the blueberries I had in before that, which are a solid top, opaque top. But also when I went to using the JWK unlubed switches, because those are also, although it's polycarbonate and nylon, but still transparent, the difference was obvious, how much brighter they were. And then the jade light is different materials. Actually kind of remind me of some Otemo switches I've seen as far as coloring, but it uses the top housing and stem are made of a material, I don't remember the exact name. It was kind of a long, like, and all just capital letters, so it stands for something. All that, but it's supposedly has less friction than nylon and POM, POM, which is something that is used for several things. So it is used for, like, the JWK linears that I have. Those use POM stems. The cream switches, the NK cream, that's not only a POM stem, but I'm pretty sure the housing is also POM, because it's smooth, but it's also self-lubricating. So is this stuff with these other Texi switches. So yeah, potentially quite smooth, and also with the ability to, over time, remain smooth. Ah, damn it! Remain smooth or get smoother. Yeah, the self-lubricating plastics, I even though yes, I have used them, I feel like it's not so much it's going to be like really smooth over time, but that if there is any roughness initially, that will go away with use. Because, I mean, any switch, as you use it, you're gonna wear away some of the imperfections. But with a self-lubricating plastic, like POM or this other thing that is like 5 or 6 capital letters long, it will become even smoother because what you're wearing off, that the dust, the particles that are left, will act as a lubricant. That's how self-lubricating plastics work. Actually, I think any self-lubricating material. That was fun. I don't care. What's the next thing? Oh yeah, seeing that. Saw that AMD is claiming that they will achieve. Well, they're claiming a goal of achieving 30x improvement to efficiency for AI, and wait, there's AI and something else workloads, but I'm trying to hopefully grab that first before just looking. AI training and HPC, high performance compute. Which, well, they're claiming that. Shouldn't say claim. They're setting that target for themselves by 2025, which is near enough that basically everyone should be able to interpret that as they already have achieved that in their lab, or very close.
What are they? Oh, there they are. The dragon sent the giants, the great beasts of this forsaken land. They call them the War Rings.
But it's specifically mentioned for the for Epic, as well as their Instinct, which are special versions of the
I'll take you.
let him do his thing. Oh wow, everyone got out. Neat. Special versions of their compute GPUs.
I'll get my kill today.
At least I'm pretty sure it is, because I'm just trying to remember. How do they have more than one professional line? I don't remember if the MI line is the only one that they have, because I think that's their Instinct. I can't remember now. That's what happens when you don't, really cover the professional parts too often. Or too much. But, yeah, since we're talking about, releasing like 3.5 years, and that's release, so production would be earlier than that. I'm just trying to think what all I want to do. I'm not going to do that yet. I think that is yeah, that's a side mission, so I don't need to worry about it just yet. I'm just gonna go this way. So it's like they'd have to have like finalized design. If the release is late 2025, they'd have to have finalized design like the beginning of 2025. So yeah, it's like 3.5 years away that they would have to have these products achieving that goal. So almost certainly they have those products that are at least telling them they should be able to achieve that in their laboratory.
There, the tunnel. What you asked for?
The woman spoke. The rig must be inside.
Fine, I'm close enough. And besides, it has been a while since I've done any actual progression stuff. What's the next?
Oh, the sludge will have us spinning and whining all day, Saint!
Couple game update related things. One with Splitgate, which got a major update this week. Their September update, which there was one change. Well, there was multiple changes in it. One was mantling being added, which is it's handy. Fixed up some maps. They dropped Rumble, which I do agree with people that are saying that was unfortunate. So they basically had two casual playlists that you could go into. One that would be just casual.
Should be to the right.
The other was Rumble, which is more just fun and silly kind of stuff. Like Big Head Sniper versus Shoddy Sniper, which is just, a casual game type. And they should bring that back. And there have been people complaining about it, so hopefully they will. But there was also one thing that they mentioned in the patch notes, and it's like, okay, that is wonderful to see, because it's a feature, it's one of those, this is a feature that it should be in so many games, and I don't know why it's not. You can now change the color of enemies, both their armor and their outlines, as well as the colors of your allies, armor and outline, which, stop and consider that. You are setting what your enemies look like, which implies then that the enemies always have a certain look to them. That's the thing that I don't know why there aren't more games that do that. It's like, I remember wishing that were the case in Rocket League when I was playing that more often, which was like 2 years ago. Where it's like, no, let me always be blue, the other team always be the red/orange. Look more orange than red to me. Because it's like, that way I know what team I'm always on. It's like that's actually really useful to have. It'd be a wonderful feature, but it's not there. It is in Splitgate though, and now you can actually change that color if you want. It's like, that's great. Why don't we have this as like standard everywhere? I mean, it's kind of like also with their how they're doing the colorblindness stuff. It's like, I love how they're doing that. I think that's far superior to what you see in other places. Why aren't we doing that in other places? So yeah, I just wanted to mention that because that is legitimately a obvious quality of life thing that it's like it should be everywhere. It should be everywhere. The other update thing was some news for goody. Satisfactory. Some details on update 5. More specifically, that signaling is coming for trains, as is collision. And they actually, if you watch it's like 90 seconds long. If you watch the teaser for it, they actually have one train collide with another at the end, and it not only derails the train, but it causes the containers on the cars to fly off as well, which is not something I think many people were expecting. I wasn't. I mean, it does make some sense that would be what you'd want to have happen, but it was still just really, really neat to see. I will take it. I'm just... Am I... Oh, right here. Okay. Oh, that's not good. I'm gonna ignore him for the time being. Okay, now let's deal with it. Alright. Now, fortunately for me, I don't use trains in such a way that it'll be a problem for me. That this addition of collision and signaling, I will mess around with signaling, and I'll probably try to crash some stuff because why not? That would be part of the fun, right? This is just gonna go slow. I hate that I'm doing it, that this is what I'm gonna do. Because I think if I reach the war rig, I need to bring it out. So I'm gonna take care of this first. Which is also annoying because I can't just go to Pink Eye, because I have not been there yet. It's not set up. But yeah, it was satisfactory anyway, coming back to that. Yeah, I only have, I think, 2? Yeah, I think I only have 2 tracks that actually have scheduled trains on them that are just going around and around, taking one thing from one side to another. And then the other is more, I put that down there so that I can move around. It's like, it's for me, so it's, and none of the tracks overlap, so. So yeah. But it should be interesting, and what did they say? It's late October that it's supposed to come out, so, to experimental, of course. Man. Alright, there. But, yeah, and I need to go this way. I need to avoid the sniper. Yeah, so I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. Nothing's really coming to mind. I guess I could talk a little bit more about the natural cooler. Yeah, installed it. That went well, went easy. I never took what idle temperatures were with the AIO installed. Well, not for quite a long time, at least. It looks like, well, that first day, which, you know, to be fair, maybe the film paste still needed to move around a little bit from some heating, some cooling, you know, stuff like that. The outer temperatures weren't bad, but they were like, you know, 42, 43. But there were also times I was seeing it go down to 38, 37. At load, which I did some recordings where I was recording 2 video streams. I think it topped out around 60. And then when the video was processing for hours, that it topped out at 63, which I think is higher than the AIO was, but that's still, you know, a great temperature. And as I already said, it was quieter because we didn't have that one fan spinning up, and not only that, it was a fan that it was mounted at the top of the case, so the noise would basically go directly out of the case, whereas now the 2 fans on the cooler are inside of the case, so there is more dead space between it and me. And then, yeah, so explaining about the 140mm fan that I had to put the resistor extension thing. I think that's all it is. It's just a resistor on the line, so it cuts on the reduces the voltage, so the fan cannot spin as fast. But the reason why that was so needed is that the thing I plugged into, the fan header that I plugged into, is a clone. The Zenith Extreme, the Asus Zenith Extreme I have, it has 2 CPU headers, 2 CPU fan headers. One is the primary, and the other is this ops thing that, from what I could tell, it just clones it. Which, yes, that can be advantageous. But that's the nearest fan header for the 140mm fan. So whenever the 2 fans on the CPU cooler heat up enough, because I was using a turbo profile So a very high, well, a fan profile that'll, speed up at lower temperatures. It was speeding up the 140mm fan to 100% speed. At like 50, I think it was. Actually, no, it wasn't 100%, but it was close enough that it was quite loud. So just, shut down the computer, put that thing on there, perfect. It is noticeably and appreciably quieter. At times, I can hear the fans going, but it is I need to listen, and it still is peak volume there is definitely quieter than when I had the AIO in there, and the two fans would spin up, or just the one fan would spin up to higher speed. Definitely quieter than that. Much, much quieter. So temperatures might be a little bit up, but not enough for any level of concern. It's quieter, and I don't have to worry about tubes failing, coolant leaching, or a pump failing. So I'm pretty damn happy. Yeah. Don't know what I may do for a future build, though. Yeah, let's do that. Getting drink water. Yeah, what I mean by future build is I don't know. Even though I've got the hypothetical next build in my next desktop in my mind, I still don't know if I would want to do it as a basically air cooler or custom liquid, because there is I guess in theory there could be something released by then, but my own expectation is that we're not going to see a good Threadripper AIO again. Well, ever. Because the Animax stuff, while nice, the fact that it failed, I think kinda killed the market. That just people don't trust it. I know, who was it? There was one company. They did, they did release an AIO that the pump wasn't the whole housing to the cold plate wasn't large enough, but the plate itself was. Oh yeah, that's right. There is also that ice giant thing, which would be interesting to follow what happens with that. DeBauer actually had a video on that not too long ago. That was interesting. He likened it to not so much a thermosiphon as it's described, but instead a how long? 40 feet. Yeah, I'll do this mission. Which is a massive heat pipe. So it's a phase change cooler where it has some coolant in there that is quite obviously under pressure, as he's discovered. And so most likely it'll be a liquid. Okay. So the idea is this: imagine an all-in-one cooler, all-in-one liquid cooler. Instead of using a coolant that is always liquid and a pump, instead of that, the setup is you have a coolant that will, at operating temperatures, heat up enough to become a gas so that it will now flow up. Okay, so it flows upward, which is into a radiator, but I mean, really, it's just something that will dissipate heat well enough for it to then, the gas to condense, come back down to the liquid, and return to the cold plate. That's what it is. It's basically just a cold plate that attaches directly to a radiator with channels in there that are all metal, so you shouldn't have to worry about leaching. but that this coolant will just go between liquid and gas in order to, cool off the CPU. And technically, it can be installed on like a whole host of CPUs, but the cold plate is the size of a Threadripper, and what he found, and what some others have found, and it's kind of a funny thing, a funny quirk, but yeah, I guess it makes sense, is, well, yeah, you can put this thing on like a standard Intel or AMD CPU, a consumer CPU. It's not that good. It's not that good at cooling compared to a good air cooler or a good all-in-one cooler. But if you put this thing on a Threadripper, so you got that full surface area, and you got like, 250 watts for TDP, this thing is actually pretty damn good. I mean, you can still get some other coolers that are as good, but like this has potential to be quieter, this has, it's certainly simpler. But yeah, and it's definitely an interesting product. Now it is, I wasn't seeing the highlight, that's why I kept trying. So yeah, it would be interesting to see what'll come of that, but it is a technology that it seems will need further development. I think be one way to put it, and one thing that DeBarrow specifically points out is it's all aluminum, and he did ask, and there is interest in making a copper version. Aluminum is a good conductor, is a good thermal conductor, but copper is still better. So, seeing one that even just a copper cold plate, the actual component that connects to the CPU, even just that could make a difference. I could see that. Which also reminds me of one ad I saw that was really stupid. But anyway, it just wow, I'm really not being fortunate with the time here. Here we go. But even just doing that, I could see helping. But yeah, that ad that I completely said was stupid. It was for, like pans, frying pans and such. And part of what it was, though, that was so stupid was it's like talking about how, oh, it's this copper ceramic pan, that's the material it's made out of, and to help with having the heat evenly and quickly spread out, it has this stainless steel insert in the base. It's like, wait, what? Say that again? Yeah, it's stainless steel in the base there to help with the heat spreading from the burner across the entire base so that it's even and efficient. Yeah, the thing is that you're talking about something that's already largely copper, which is going to be a better conductor than steel. I mean, it's like my parents have had for decades, like it was a wedding gift kind of thing. A set of dishes that were hundreds of dollars at the time, that they are stainless steel, except that they do have copper inserts in the base, specifically for the purpose of helping to spread out the heat evenly and quickly, because that makes sense. It's like the stainless steel is going to be much cheaper than the copper, I think. It should be. And just the stainless steel isn't the good conductor. It's good for structure, definitely. It's the copper that's good for conductivity, so you put it where you need it. It's very weird that those Boston fans have it reversed. But then for now, what do I have to worry about? I'm still stuck at home, because I can't get a wheel drive.
Oh, big one.
Actually, it's not so bad, because I do have this one job that I'm doing that I've mentioned some. And I actually applied for another job, a QA job, which it was kind of funny applying for it, because I found a bug in the application. Yeah. Reported that, so it's... But it still is. I'm applying for a QA job, and I found a bug in the system to apply. Reported it, and also figured out the solution. Yeah. That, may sound weird. That's kind of how my life goes at times. And who knows, maybe it'll help me. Also might not. It's, you know. I don't know how to put it. Can I be, like, burned out from unemployment or something? I don't know how you may want to think about it. But, just... You know, it's... I applied for the job because I'd like to get that job. But if I don't get it, that's okay. It's like, if nothing else, I got this funny story to go with it. To go with a rejection notice, so, you know. Oh, and I also just remembered something that I saw. Brad Wardell is the head of Stardock, and saw he shared on Twitter.
What she meant.
That
Sounds bad. I'm out of here.
that they managed to let's do that. Get a game set up that's unannounced, and honestly, achieving what he's saying they did, it doesn't even have to be a real game. It could just be a prototype, because it's still quite impressive. A game able to utilize 64 threads, and he made the point when they released Ashes of the Singularity, which, if you look that up, that's a game that allowed for, thousands of units being on screen all at the same time, AI-controlled units, and also all the projectiles in the air to be their own light sources, which is definitely something you did not see prior to that. And they achieved this not only with DirectX 12, which is what it initially launched with, and then later they had Vulkan, but it also worked in DirectX 11. Not necessarily as well as in DirectX 12, but it still worked. They achieved that on 4 to 6 threads, he made the point of, and they figured out now how to have a game scale to 64. I have no idea what they could possibly do with that. I mean, I don't even... Yeah, I guess actually no, maybe that could get you to millions of units. But what the hell game are you making with that's actually going to be helpful? I mean, it's just a tech demo, though. It's like showing that, hey, we have the system to do this, so we can scale things up that far. That is definitely good. But it's still what is the situation you've made for us? And it was also interesting because some people was saying, oh, I hope that this is Sins of Soul Empire 2. Which, that would be interesting. I mean, could you imagine the fleet battles you could achieve with that? Oh. Now I'm actually just trying to think, applying some of that to... like certain elements of Ashes to Sins of the Solar Empire. You could have all the ships be their own AI, but you could also have AI on them as well, for all the guns. Well, that could definitely be interesting.
Where will they take us?
To the burning towers. Did you find the rig?
I found trouble. But things were there, as you said. Why'd you tell me?
It's just Where I'm from, you trust your gut ropes on people.
And where is that?
I came from the south, with the riders. Ended up in Gastown. Became the property of Dr. D when nighttime came. Then the Wasteland War was upon us. After many battles, Dr. D's hordes were bested. His tribe scattered. Most killed. The leaders all dead. The remains of one of their greatest still lies buried out there.
So?
Buried with him are all his worldly possessions, including his war machine. I will show you where the tomb lies. Do with this what you will. As I said, I have a feeling about you.
Mama, my belly hurt.
You're hungry. We'll get food soon. We're too valuable to starve.
It's down here? Huh. Neat. Alright.
Got the steel. Have a look.
Yeah, I think I have everything here, so... Let me... How do I... I want to see how many of the Griffith coins I have. Griffith token. Yeah. I'm just gonna take care of the Griffith tokens. That's all. I know it's nearby where the this mission is, but
The invading horde, long siege of Gastown. So much grease spilled in the sands as men and machine clashed.
What happened to them?
They were bested in the end, scattered and slaughtered.
yeah, I just want to take care of that because I know I've been amassing them and not doing anything with them. And it would be nice to at least get some of the like water efficiency improved. So I'll just do that now instead of like trying to do it in the middle of a stream or at the beginning of another stream. Oh, I also just remembered something else. GOG is 13 years old. So they are doing a special sale for that. So yeah, go check out what they have that may interest you. Mad Max is on there. I don't know if that's one of the things on sale, but they do have this game on there. Also, the Civilization franchise has turned 30. That's a lot of one more turn. That was definitely neat to see. 30 years old. I don't even remember. You know, here, when I close this down, I'll look. Because I know I've got Civ 5. I played that a lot. Civ 6 I have as well. It didn't impress me. Don't know what other Civ games I have.
Dead by the road. All the lives choked out. Not my choice to kill. You seem to enjoy it. Never. You don't fear killing because you think you control it. You tell yourself such. Blood is not on your hands, but on theirs. Perhaps it's not the killing you enjoy, but the moments of silence the fighting brings you.
Okay. No. Everything. That might actually mean I'm capped out on that. Where do I view that? Is that... Okay. So yes, it is capped out here. Yeah, oh wait, no, there might be one more up there. Might be level 30. Which, that will unlock something. I don't remember what, but there is something that unlocks at 30. Does look like I have everything. Well, not all the... These will actually... It's kind of funny, I can remember being annoyed by this. The whole it pulling you out like that. Yeah, sure. It's like, I got the scrap, and that shouldn't disrupt things. Probably the... Yeah, we can just hang out here. Alright, so... Once we load back up there, quit, and check out how many Civ games I have. 'Cause I think there was like a Civilization Humble Bundle at one point that I picked up. Don't remember. I did see something, what did they say? 200 million? That they've, since they started? 200 million that, they've donated? Or rather, that people have donated through Humble Bundle-ish, sort of? Something like that. Alright, here... Okay, so I do have 3 for colonization, as well as 5 and 6. Okay. For the Sid Meier's Civilization, which actually, let me quickly... Yeah, and those aren't the only Sid Meier games, because I think that might be how I got them. There was like a Sid Meier, excuse me, a Sid Meier bundle. Because I also got Sid Meier's Ace Patrol's Pacific Skies, Sid Meier's Pirates, and Sid Meier's Railroads, which that actually did play some of, and that was pretty fun. That game definitely, and not that I've played many train simulating games, but that did feel to me and seem to me like one of those games, and there's sadly quite a few like this, where if you oh, that's interesting. Mad Max is actually on sale at Steam at 75% off, so $5. That's definitely. I'm like, personally, I enjoy the game enough that I don't see I could go wrong with it at that price. I'm just gonna quickly also see how it is. Yeah, it's also on sale at GOG too. I'm not sure what the cause of it might be. Like, there might be a WB sale. I'm not sure. But anyway, going back to the Sid Meier's Railroads, there are just some classic games that you play them and you realize that there's an intelligence to certain aspects of the design that you don't see in modern games. I'm trying to think what the example might be there. But I mean, like just certain quality of life things, like using Satisfactory, the rails, how you the train track, how you put that down is actually really annoying because you basically have to control every little aspect of it. Even like it can actually allow you, in theory, to like when you're trying to place it, the holograms to actually have impossible curves on them. Why? I mean, when you think about it, it makes no sense that it would, even pretend that you could build it in a configuration that it will not allow. Whereas in railroads, and it has been many years since I touched it, many years, but it still seemed like I want to say it was like it would always either not allow you to build what's impossible or show you the thing that would make it that would need to be done for it to be possible. Yeah, and just things like that. I also remember in the Star Drive, that space-based, yeah, that was a 4X game. Like one of the things that was so neat there was the fleet editor. Now, true, that's not a classic game. That's a relatively modern game, but it's like it had something there that you don't see in other games. The fleet editor, you could basically lay out, have a fleet, design the fleet, where all the units go, but you could do that without having the units yet. You hit a button and it'll show the build orders to all the places that you need to build that pretty efficiently. It sometimes would pick places that were like on the other side of the map or just weren't that fast. Because I mean, it could be faster to like put more of the ship building at a handful of really advanced constructors versus spreading it out evenly to a large number, because some of them aren't as advanced or they're just really far away. So it wasn't perfect, but it's still, you could do that. You could design it and then hit a button and have them just be produced. Or you're using it, and when someone destroyed it, you hit a button and the replacements are made for you. That's a really nice quality of life thing, and a lot of games, modern games, don't do that. That one did. But yeah, I want to say that Railroads was like that, though. It had certain things in there where it's like, this makes perfect sense. Why aren't they doing this in modern games? And I do feel that there are a number of classic games that are like that. And I don't know why. Where it's like you can find that thing where it's like, we had this solution 20 years ago. Why aren't we using it today? And some of it I could see just being the people on thinking about them, about those kind of things that would make those improvements. Or it's just, I could also see being the whole forest for the trees. They build these elaborate, complex, and very enjoyable systems, to the point that then these smaller quality of life things, well, perhaps they would be really intricate. I could see it being we don't even think about that stuff because, like, I mean, look at all this stuff. It's like, yeah, but could you have that one tree? Or could you plant this one tree? It would make the forest so much better. One thing, though, if you have that Sid Meier's Railroads or are interested in it, look up how to play it, because it definitely had some weirdness to it. Like patches that you need to install for it to work kind of stuff. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else to mention. Nothing's really coming to mind. But, that's weird. Looking down, just noticing my laptop, for whatever reason, is apparently not asleep, even though it should be. Let's see if it goes to sleep. I mean, if it doesn't, then I just need to, pull up. It's not going to sleep. I don't know why. Huh. The screen gets turned off, at least. Here it is. We can, you can just hit the button in the start menu. Oh, yeah, that reminds me. Windows 11 is launching next week. What is that, October 6th? And Stardock is going to have their Start 11 out. Well, actually, I think it's out in beta currently, but they're going to have a major update for it coming up shortly after that, including the ability to move the taskbar around. Which, oh man, somebody started a thread on the forum talking about Windows 11, and I why not respond to it? Let's get the forums going. And it's like, I got the laptop can't be updated, it's too old. The desktop it's according to Microsoft too old. It shouldn't be. And then the test system, that's new enough that I could update. I don't know if I will. It depends. Like, if there is actual legitimate changes where it's like, yes, I do need that, but it's also, I figure there's going to be reviewers that, yes, will update it immediately so that people can see how it performs. But I've always, with the test system, viewed it more as, I want this to be more like what, a normal computer, what a lot of people would have for the builds. So I think a lot of people can stick on 10 for quite a while, so I probably won't even bother with that. But it's also just, personally, my feeling is, from what I've seen, Windows 11 isn't going to be bad. But I do think that there are poor and bad decisions in it, to the point that we will see an 11.1 like we saw in the Windows 8.1, where it really fixed a lot of stuff that's like, legitimately, they should never have made those decisions. I mean, like how they basically cannibalized. Well, I shouldn't say cannibalized. That's not really right. They decimated. Yeah, the start menu. It's like, yeah, it's not exactly decimated, because decimated is you remove a tenth. It's more like they left a tenth, they removed 90% of it. It's like, that was a bad decision. That wasn't a poor decision. That was a bad decision. That's going to probably prove to be a... Stardock's going to make a lot of money because everyone's going to buy Start 11 to fix that. And then somebody at Microsoft may finally realize, this was a bad decision. Who made this decision? Or who approved this decision? I don't think they should be making those decisions anymore. And hopefully that person won't be, because it was a bad decision. Maybe they made other decisions that were good, but it was a bad decision. I mean, seriously, the start menu is like, it is how so many people interact with it. Interact with Windows. Find stuff in Windows. Organize themselves in Windows. Why do you destroy it? Why do you mess with it in any way that removes features? I don't understand. Anyway, I should really stop talking. Yeah, that's all I got. Nothing special coming up. Still working through editing the GPU thermal article. Still in the script portion. It'll be more interesting, I think, once I get to the data portion, since then I'll have, the graphs to deal with. But that's also it's the data stuff. That's where, that's the stuff I'll have a separate article that's basically just that to go up on OCC. But, yeah, I do think it will be interesting to people. I really do think that some of the data that I found will prove interesting. Seeing how the different GPUs boost, how they behave over a long period of time, both with the seamless looping of the benchmarks, but also where they were pulsed on and off. I do think people will find that stuff interesting. At least I hope so. But unfortunately, it might be a month because editing's not going as fast as I'd like to, because I do have other things I need to spend my time. All right, yeah. See you next time.